Donald Trump.
By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 500 acres of desert soil.
Kamala Harris.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real.
Which is the best candidate for the solar industry in 2024? In today's video, we're going to be discussing the politics of solar. And make sure you watch to the end, because I'm going to give you my take on the election and which of these candidates I choose to support.
The smarter way to go solar.
All right, now in today's video, we're talking about the politics of solar. Now, we've only got about 2 weeks until election night here in the US. And of course, it's down to Donald J. Trump and Kamala Harris. But which of these candidates is really the best option if you're a solar industry professional, maybe you're a solar company owner, or somebody considering installing solar power on their home? Well, first, let's talk about the main policy issues or the main policy levers that influence residential solar. And there are 3 main levers. The first one is, of course, the investment tax credit. Now, what the solar investment tax credit does is it allows you to essentially get reimbursed for 30% of your solar system cost when it comes time to file your tax returns. So however you purchase your solar power system, you may choose to pay cash directly to your solar contractor, or you may choose to take out a loan from a bank and have the bank pay the solar contractor. But basically 30% of your total project cost can be claimed in the form of a tax credit, which essentially would come off of your tax bill, assuming you have taxable income, federal taxable income. Now, I should say as a disclaimer, I'm not a tax professional, I'm not giving any tax advice here, but in most cases, if you have federal taxable income, then you can take 30% of your total solar system cost, and that 30% will come back to you from the IRS, assuming that you're current and you've prepaid all of your taxes on time. Now, that extra 30% is important because in a lot of cases, that's gonna be the difference to where whether your solar investment pays for itself right out of the gate, or if you have to wait some years for electric rates to catch up high enough to where your monthly solar cost is actually lower than your monthly electric bill. Now remember folks, most folks who are installing solar today, they're doing it with a solar loan or a solar lease. Meaning they're not just writing a check paying cash for the system, they're financing the system, and a lot of times the monthly payment on the financing is quoted assuming that you're going to get that 30% federal tax credit at the end of the year when you file your taxes. So if you're in the process of looking at solar options now, make sure you read the fine print on your quote or on your proposal, because a lot of times that monthly payment that's being quoted, it assumes you can get the solar tax credit. So having the solar investment tax credit in place is definitely a positive thing for solar. Now, when Trump was coming out of office, I believe they were going to let the solar tax credit expire, but the Biden-Harris administration extended it. Of course, Congress, along with the Biden-Harris administration, extended it for another 10 years. And so it's still at that full 30% as I'm recording today. All right, now the second major policy level that affects solar and solar prices are tariffs. And of course, President Trump made headlines when he imposed tariffs on Chinese-made solar panels. Of course, many of those tariffs are still in place today. Now, what that means is that Chinese-made or other imported solar panels are going to be more expensive to the end user if they're being purchased here in the US market. However, I can tell you that wholesale solar panel prices are actually lower now than they've been for the past 3, 4, or 5 years. And although tariffs are in place, companies are still finding ways to get around the tariffs and get cheap solar product into the US market. In fact, if you haven't seen our previous video on solar panel price crash 2024, go back and watch the previous video where I talk about this issue in more detail. And then the third major policy lever that affects solar, especially when you're talking about residential solar, and this may be the most influential, are the interest rates, right? What is the cost of borrowing? As I mentioned earlier, most solar that's being installed on homes in the US is not being paid for in cash. Most of these systems are being financed with loans with terms as much as 15, 20, 25 years. And so as interest rates rise and as the cost of borrowing rises, it makes solar more expensive. And frankly, it takes away a lot of the incentive of wanting to go solar, right? A lot of solar is being sold right now on a monthly bill swap. Hey, Mr. Homeowner, if your electric bill is $200 a month, we'll finance the solar system for you and we'll lower that bill to, let's say, $180 a month or $170 a month. And that pitch works really well when interest rates are low. But interest rates have been steadily rising over the past 2 years. And so a lot of times now, making a switch to solar, depending on which market you live in, which state you live in, switching to solar with no money down may not save you any money on your monthly bill. In fact, you may pay slightly more if the interest rate on your financing is too high. By the way, we did a video on this topic as well, so if you haven't seen our previous video on solar market crash 2024, go back and watch that previous video as well, where we dig into this issue in more detail. Now, for me, I see solar as a nonpartisan issue, and I know a lot of you may have some different opinions about it out there, but for me, very simply, energy security equals national security. And right now, the technology exists that we can be energy independent at the household level. Now, no, I know we can't go completely away from fossil fuels as a country. A lot of our heavy industry, of course, still relies on fossil fuel and nuclear power. But at the individual household level, the technology exists today where if you have good irradiance on your house, you have good direct sunlight that hits your house, all you need is the rooftop surface area of that house to produce or capture enough electricity to power your house, including charging electric vehicles if you've made a switch to electric vehicles for your transportation. And I think that just makes sense regardless of which political party you support, which is probably a great time to talk about why it is that people invest in solar at all. Now, yes, there are some that do it for environmental reasons. If you're motivated primarily by lowering your carbon footprint and saving the planet and fighting global warming or climate change, I mean, if you buy into that, then that certainly is one strong motivator to install solar panels for your home. But frankly, most people that were passionately motivated by those reasons, they've already gone solar a long time ago. They haven't waited. The technology's been out available long enough that those people that are like die-hard environmentalists probably have already gone solar. Now, there's another group of solar enthusiasts like myself that do it for emergency preparedness reasons. Again, the idea here is there's technology available between solar panels, batteries, inverters, where you can basically become energy independent at the household level. Not just energy neutral, where you zero out your electric bill with net metering, but where you truly become energy independent, where you can take or leave the power company on your own terms, because you have enough solar power to capture enough energy for what your home needs. You have battery storage where you can store a reserve of energy. So if there's a grid blackout, or if it's just evening hours, you can draw energy off of your batteries. And then the next day, the solar panels take over and recharge the battery. And you can repeat that cycle day in, day out, day after day, month after month, to where again, basically the power company just becomes the power provider of last resort. You really are energy independent and protected from a blackout. And then of course you have another group of people that just like solar because of the financial savings. Now, especially you that are watching this in California, Arizona, places where you've seen electric rates rise 30, 40% year over year, it just makes sense. You know, either you can stay in debt to the power company, because that's essentially what you are. You're in debt to the power company unless you're willing to operate without electricity in your home. So you're gonna pay that bill every month, regardless of what number's on it. You're gonna pay that bill every month unless you're willing to go without electricity. Or you can own a solar power system that provides for all the electrical needs of your home. You can freeze it at whatever today's price is, right? Whether you finance it, you lease it, or you pay cash for it, you're basically locking in your energy cost. You know what that price is. You're not going to be subject to inflation year over year over year with no end in sight. The electric bill never ends. They're just going to send you another one the next month, and if you don't pay it, they turn the lights off. So a lot of people just want to get financially independent from the power company, and that's why they like to invest in solar. Now, as far as my personal political views, I tend to lean more conservative, especially when it comes to issues like national security, energy security, and free speech. So if I have to choose one of these two candidates.
By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
All right, I know that wasn't a very flattering clip from President Trump about solar, but the reality of it is the average person, the average business does not need hundreds of acres of desert to make solar power practical. Again, most US homes, if you get good direct irradiance on your rooftop, meaning that you don't have a lot of trees, you don't have a lot of shading that covers up the rooftop, pretty much the surface area of the rooftop is all you need to produce the energy that you need for that home, to eliminate your electric bill, and to make sure that you have secure emergency backup power if that's what you want as well. So this has been a discussion of the politics of solar. By the way, guys, we're working on a new app where you're going to be able to design, build, and purchase your solar power system 100% online without having to deal with a solar salesperson, unless, of course, you want to. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. We're going to have some more information coming out about that very soon. Now, of course, if you're in the process of looking at different solar and battery options for your home, if you need to get a price quote for solar and batteries, or maybe you already have a price quote, you just need to get a comparison quote to make sure that you're getting the best deal, as always, you can reach out to us on the link below here, set up a call with a solar surge expert, or just use the free online quote tool to see how much solar and storage costs in your area. Now, of course, if you're getting good value from these videos you see on the channel, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And also go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. That way, as we have new videos like this coming out, it'll come up on your feed so you can stay up to date with everything. Well, that does it for today's video. As always, I'm Joe Ordia here, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.